Okay, Tom. Thank you. Come out of
meeting is called to order. Madam Clerk, roll call.
Chair Joseph Anderson.
Present.
Vice Chair CIKLIN. Secretary Treasurer Chief ENRIGHT. Absent. Commissioner Wayne Richards.
Here.
Commissioner Kathy Waldman.
Here.
Executive Director MANUEL ALMIRA.
Here.
Court Counsel Greg Pickett. Court Counsel Greg Pickett.
He's here.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
We have a quorum.
All right, so can you please stand for the pledge of allegiance?
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We have additions, deletions, and reorganizations of the agenda. Okay.
Mr. Chair, our attorney would like to have a request.
Okay.
I'd like to do three things. I would like to add.
Can you state your name for the record?
Gregory Picken, Court Counsel Gary Dietrich and Ryan. I'd like to request an executive session to discuss the pending claims regarding an HR matter. And the person, we've already given notice of this. Notice of the executive session was published, indicating the names of the people who, the attorneys who may be present. So I'm requesting that meeting now. And the second thing I would like to do is when we return from that meeting, in terms of the agenda, I would like to place approval of the Mason Yeager John Famero contract at the beginning.
All right. So we can restructure that to be,
If I could just ask for 1 moment.
okay.
I'd like to change that order a little bit. I would like to have John Famero's contract approved and then have us go into executive session.
All right. And this is going to be directly after approval of the agenda.
And Commissioner, I'm sorry.
We may have some other things.
Okay.
So, Commissioner, what we'd like to do is reorganize the agenda. That is, move I-1, taking directly after approval of the agenda. That's the General Court Counsel. Then, as I understand it, there will be, once that's done, then I understand there will be an executive session. And the next item will be I-2, once the board gets back. That's fact-finding, once the board gets back from the executive session. Those are the changes that I'm requesting.
So you want to move I-1
Yes.
directly after the approval of the agenda, and then you want to move I-2 directly after I-1.
Well, actually, yes, but I-1 is to get contract. Then after the executive session, then I-2.
Okay. For presentations and announcements, are we including Representative at Little Heights presentation?
That would be, yes, Mr. Chair, that would come under presentations, which is item F, once that's after the approval of the minutes. And that would be Representative at Little
That would be
Heights.
one executive session.
That'll be after.
Okay.
Thank you. And he's not here, not yet.
Mr. Chair, Commissioners, thank you. I move that we amend the agenda after the approval of the agenda, I-1 executive session and I-2.
Okay, it's been moved by Commissioner Richards and seconded by Commissioner CIKLIN. Are there any unreadness? Hearing and seeing none, all in favor say said, I will entertain a motion to approve of the agenda.
So moved. Approval of the agenda.
Okay, it's been properly moved by Commissioner Sept, seconded by Commissioner Waldron. Are there any questions? All in favor, say aye. All opposed? Motion carries unanimously, 4-0 with Mr. Enright. And just for the record, the previous motion was also 4-0. All right, with that being said, we're now going to go into let the record reflect Commissioner Enright is now on date. We are now going to go into our executive set. Well, excuse me, I1, correct one.
If I may, I'll make the presentation, commissioners. It's mixed feelings.
I1, what?
Old business, which has been moved up under approval of the agenda, general court counsel services, approval of contract.
All right. And it's just mixed feelings. On one hand, of course, we're saying goodbye to our good friend Greg. On the other hand, in front of you is a new contract for our new attorney by the name of John Romero. Those of you, and I doubt, but those of you who have not spoken to him, once you do, you'll be impressed. So, contract is a 3-year contract. It's pretty much standard. It has a, why we need this, I don't know, but it does have a 30-day out. The commissioners are requesting for an approval of this particular contract.
Make a motion to accept I-1 and approve the contract. David Pearson et al.
Second. It's been moved by Commissioner Sept and second by Commissioner Richards. Captain Waldron, you're recognized.
Yeah, I'm interested of transparency. I would like to disclose that the Mason Yeager firm represents a company in which I have a business relationship. Court counsel has indicated that I do not have to proceed to vote for
Commissioner Richards, excuse me, Commissioner Enright.
I didn't hear exactly what you said.
And I have Mason Yeager represents a company in which I have a business relationship. The court counsel has indicated that I do not have to abstain from the vote.
Okay. Are there any other questions, concerns?
No.
Okay.
Is somebody second?
Yes, it's been properly second. Is there any other?
No.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries unanimously. 5-2.
Welcome, John.
Thank you.
Welcome. Would you like to say a couple of words?
Just very briefly, my name is John Romero. I'm looking forward to serving as your court counsel. I've represented governmental entities for over 30 years and look forward to working with all of you. I do want to thank Mr. Pickens. He's been a very important resource to me in the last few weeks and beginning to get up to speed on everything. And also Beatrice, staff, Mandy, they've all been a great resource in helping me on the steep learning curve, so I want to thank them as well.
Thank you. Glad to have you. And we're, just sorry to see Mr. Pickens go, but, those some issues to deal with, I know that you'll do, no problem. And thank you, Mr. Pickens, for getting them acclimated to this position as well. Commissioner.
Could you pronounce your last name so I won't mess it up?
Yes, ma'am. It's Fumero.
Fumero.
Fumero, yeah.
Thank you.
Chair?
Commissioner Walker.
I need to go back to put Representative Matt Willowite's here, and he's on duty tonight, so he's wondering if he could maybe go before the executive session, if he could maybe reorder the agenda again.
What is the pleasure of the board?
Sure.
Move to reorder the agenda, have the Representative McElroy Heights presentation right now.
Okay.
Second?
Second.
Okay, it's been moved by Commissioner Richards, second by Commissioner Enright. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Representative Enright, how are you doing today?
Good, how are you, Mr. Chairman? Thank you for allowing me to reorder there and allowing me a moment, please.
I wanted to just introduce him. As many of you, we all know that he helped us quite a bit on passing HB 915, and he's on duty tonight, which is why we're going to do this first. But he's been a state rep for District 86 since 2016, and because he's the captain of the Palm Beach County firefighters, it makes him the first active duty firefighter in the history of Florida legislature. And even though his district does not encompass this area, he was good enough and very good to get a pass for us. So I'd like to thank him.
Thank you,
And he's
Mr.
going to
Chairman.
say a few words about it.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the audience. I appreciate the opportunity just to address you for a few minutes. I know you have a busy schedule. But I just passed out to each and every one of you a copy of the bill from the governor's office and the letter just outlining. And I just wanted to express our gratitude for being able to work with you, work with your wonderful staff, your lobbyists, Mr. Pinsky, and being able to bring hopefully a few changes that you've been looking for. We tried this last year, it didn't work. We know there was a few problems last year and some local bills and different things, but this year we were able to get you a small raise, change some of your language, give a great court director name now, and change a few things with your surety bond and different things. So I hope that that little bit will help this port continue to move forward. We expressed very much in Tallahassee how important this port is, not only to Palm Beach County, but to the state of Florida. What you do and what, I mean, we were lucky enough to be here a couple of weeks ago and have a tour and hear exactly what this port really, what it brings to us, the jobs it creates, the revenue it creates, and how important it is. So thank you. Let me assure you that my office is always here and willing to help you. If there's something else you want this year or something else we can do, please let my office know. We are stand ready to help and support you in any way, shape, or form, because you are here for the community and for the residents of Palm Beach County. And so together this relationship, I think, is working well. And I want to continue that. And again, thank you very much for the opportunity to be able to address you and speak here. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
And thank you for all that you do within District 86, as well as your professional and for the Port of Palm Beach. You know, I can't say how much this is deeply appreciated for you to take the time and get us across the finish line on this one here. I was wondering, Mr. Director, is your Reverend Parents here, and maybe we can take a picture to memorialize it?
Fortunately, she's out.
Okay. Is there anybody that you can have a camera that we can take a picture of?
We can take it.
Yes.
Sure. Please.
If you don't mind.
Take it. Cool.
Yeah, hold yours.
You're all the same.
Sorry.
That was good.
Okay. Why don't we vertically challenge people in front?
Thank you.
Thanks, man. All right, with that being said, we will go into our executive session.
I should, Mr. Chair, if I just, for the record, just to be clear here, there's a few things I need to say right before we go into executive session.
Okay.
So at this time, I request advice from the Port Commission to discuss strategy related to litigation expenditures or settlement negotiations on a personnel matter. As previously stated, the Port Commission will move into an attorney-client session on the 4th floor. That session will last approximately 60 minutes or less. The persons attending the Port Commission attorney-client session are Joseph Anderson, Blair CIKLIN, Dr. Jean Enright, Wayne Richards, Catherine Waldron, and also the Executive Director and Port Attorneys John Fumero, Ken Renz, and Greg Pickett. And the attendance in an executive session is regulated by law, so you have to make that statement in advance and part of the record.
Okay.
John, Jade is going to be attending as well.
And there will be a court reporter in all of these attorney-client sessions. A court reporter will take a transcript of the discussions, and following resolution of the matter, whether it's a settlement agreement, litigation, or whatever, that transcript becomes a public record.
Okay, Commissioner Enright?
My question is executive director allowed to be in this particular session?
So by law, the CEO or executive director of the agency is a participant in the session. I think the question you might be asking is given the nature of the allegations.
Right, because Commissioner CIKLIN was serving in his capacity, my understanding. So therefore, because at our last meeting, we placed them out and allowed Commissioner CIKLIN to serve as the executive director. So that's why I'm asking if Commissioner CIKLIN will continue to serve in his capacity in the place of Mr. Mayor. That's what we did at our last meeting. So I'm just asking.
This is just a settlement.
Right, but still, because of the nature of the matter, we allowed Mr. CIKLIN to take the place. So because we're discussing everything in detail, I was wondering if we would still have to follow along that same path. Now, I'm not an attorney, that's why I asked the question. I was thinking that we would have to until we settle things, but you understand?
Yes, ma'am, I do.
So, tell us what we need to do.
Okay, so first and foremost, it's customary for the executive director or CEO of the agency to participate. In this particular matter, Mr. CIKLIN, I read the transcript of the last meeting. Thank you, Beatrice. And so I'm aware of the discussions and the allegations. And so Mr. CIKLIN did not take the place of the executive director. He merely took on a supplemental duty to help guide the investigation and work with outside counsel. So I don't see there being a concern or a conflict with the executive director participating in the executive session.
Commissioners, the attorney are having a discussion.
all made it. It's on the street. Are you serious?
Train systems were one of these two or three.
Jacobs, HDR.
Chairman, you should go out there and tell them.
I think it's not the eye of we stand back in session. And Madam Clerk,
We are at I-2, fact-finding investigation conducted by outside legal counsel reviewed by commission. This will be presented by court counsel John Romero.
Okay, Mr. Chair, Commissioners, for the record, John Romero, Court Counsel. So we just, as you know, we had a publicly advertised attorney-client session. That session was conducted on the 4th floor. We had a court reporter that was transcribing the proceedings. We concluded the attorney-client session. We're now back in the sunshine, and I am requesting your consideration of a settlement agreement and general release, which was discussed with you during the attorney-client session. So at this point, we're asking for the Commission's consideration and vote on the settlement agreement and general release. It's being, just so that you have it handy, again, it's being redistributed to you.
I'll make a motion, we accept the settlement agreement provided by the court attorney.
A second.
okay, it's been properly moved by Commissioner Sept and second by Commissioner Waldron. And do we need to add any verbiage and say as presented to us?
No, sir. I think that will suffice. This is the action that was discussed during the attorney-client session.
Okay.
So we're good.
All right. Are there any questions, concerns? Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Gavin Waldron,
Yes.
Commissioner Reed Richards,
Yes.
Secretary Treasurer Jean Enright,
Yes.
Vice Chair Blair CIKLIN,
Yes.
Chair Joseph Anderson.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
You want these down?
Yes.
We have approval of the minutes.
So move approval minutes.
Second.
Properly moved by Commissioner Seckman, second by Commissioner Richards. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Are there any presentations and announcements in addition to Representative Lloyd?
No, Mr. Chairman.
Down to the consent agenda.
I move approval of consent agenda.
Been properly moved by Commissioner Seckman and seconded by Commissioner Waldron. Are there any conversations? Are ready? All in favor, say aye. All opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Down to district report, item H1, Executive Director's report.
Thank you, Commissioners. I'd like to start off with a recent request from the city of Riviera Beach. This is it's been an ongoing problem. Sometimes it just goes away, and yet something happens where the schedules change and then it comes right back. The FEC Railroad crossings causing challenges at the city of Riviera Beach, particularly in Blue Heron, 13th Street, and sometimes all the way down to 45th Street. Earlier this month, I was contacted by the city manager to discuss the FEC trains blocking major street crossings in the city. Commissioner Anderson participated in our initial meeting, internal, that is, the city of Riviera Beach, ourselves, which was held here at the port, where we discussed what can be done to alleviate this problem. I'm going to go back to a little bit of history. If you recall, Commissioner Pritchards and I, and what was then a councilwoman by the name of Ms. Davis, I believe, we had a similar committee with the FEC, with the city, and we thought at that point the problem had gone away. It was a matter of switching our containers that go to Port Palm Beach and be at the very front versus what they were doing before. Well, anyway, long story short, we are having a Zoom meeting with the pretty much the highest level of management from FEC tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. Jonathan Evans has confirmed that he will be there along with the fire chief. Of main concern here, of course, as you can imagine, is EMS or transporting any illness or any ambulances from the east over to the west, and most likely go down to Riviera Beach, West Palm Beach to St. Mary's. Correct me if I'm wrong, Commissioner Richards, but I believe that at that point, one of the requests that was granted was they were never going to block 45th Street. Therefore, all the EMS would go down Broadway, then cut across to 45th. I will tell you that it's been at least twice now that I have sat in 45th Street and the train has stopped. So all of this, I hope, will be discussed in some kind of agreement. It's not going to happen tomorrow, I can tell you. This is going to take several meetings, and we're prepared.
I just have a problem with all of this, and maybe I should not go back in the past. But this is a slap in the face with the Port of Palm Beach to even be dealing with this nonsense. And I say that because years ago, we received a grant to have another track put in place. In addition to that, the county took it upon themselves. Jeff Koons came up with the rest of the money to give the port. All we wanted the city of Riviera Beach to come up with maybe $50,000 or $60,000. It was some little tiny amount of money to finish the project, to ensure that we had another track, so the train would never stop. Jeff Koons fought for it, got the money. We took the Secretary of Transportation was Mr. Fox at that time. His name was Fox. It was Fox or Cox, one of them. And he agreed to give us the money to the Port of Palm Beach. We went with the county, we made an agreement. The city of Riviera Beach refused. And Judy Davis came here and said, and even Cedric Thomas said they would never put any money toward this project. If the port wanted the train, we want the trains to stop, but the port needed to pick up the rest of the bag. And that is why we're here today. And the money was placed there, the county put the money in, and to have another track. So we wouldn't even have to worry about that. But anyway, that is what occurred. Now, coming forward, now they bring the problem up again, and now we're talking about LPC, dollars, more money and stuff. And the city dropped the ball because they refused to put a couple of dollars in the pot when millions of dollars had been applied for the project to have the trains to stop. I have a problem with that.
Commissioner Sept?
Yeah, I think the biggest problem is that, we haven't even talked about, is that the FEC has so many trains coming up and down, and 99% have nothing to do with the Port of Palm Beach.
That is correct.
So, I mean, that's the problem, is that they have so much business now.
Correct.
That even, you know, when I used to go to West Palm Beach, I'd be waiting for a half an hour for the FEC. It had nothing to do with the port. So, I mean, it's a combination of things. It's not Riviera Beach's fault, it's not our fault. It's just now that the business is at that site for FEC. They must be making a fortune. But that's the problem. They've increased the amount of trains that they come down now. That it's amazing. So hopefully tomorrow you'll ask them and we can explain to everyone that, you know, we're going to do whatever we can, but the business is so great for FEC that they can increase the amount of rail cars by who knows how much.
Exactly. Right now, on average, they're doing about 11 trains a day, 11 southbound, 11 northbound. On average, I say that on average, the port, it's only 25 carts. Now, sometimes they'll put 2 things on stack, but it's only 25. And yet, they may be exactly what you said. They may be this notion that, well, wait a minute, all that train goes to the Port of Palm Beach. This is not this. We're very small. But again, we'll.
And just want to add to that before we wrap this up. In that meeting, and just to put some perspective on how we got here, in that meeting, they talked about the closures of Civil Beach Road, Blue Heron, as well as 13th Street, and even 45th Street. And I think what it comes down to is life safety, because they had several instances where the emergency vehicles could not cross to either render aid, or they had one more serious incident where individuals, they went to 2 or 3 locations and they could not access it. And that individual then had to be rerouted. So what we're talking about is life safety for the residents in the city of Riviera Beach. And to that point, there is a new board, new regime, new city manager. So I'm hoping that we could rectify or come to an amicable decision in order to improve the quality of life as well as the life safety. And it was stated by the chief, his name escapes me, but the firefighter chief indicated every time they have to reroute, they have to document this. So, for example, if an individual that's on Blue Heron and directly across the tracks needs aid, whether at one of those 2 convenience stores or gas stations, they can't even provide accommodations or seek that call. They have to have a outside or a station respond all the way from military trailer. So we're, this is very, we have to be very cognizant that we're talking about life safety. So I understand this issue was revisited during that time. I myself have received several calls from residents, and myself, I have seen the traffic jam involved. For example, when that train, whether there be coupling the tracks or the train, and you made some good suggestions, and we don't know if that is still in place.
That is correct.
So this is not only trying to provide some insight to how they operate and whether or not maybe it comes from Jacksonville, 4:30 in the morning, maybe they're amenable to, hey, instead of 2:30, because if they're coming doing at 6:30 to 7 o'clock when residents are trying to either go to work, come from work, school, and that traffic can be backed up all the way from Blue Heron and Barack Obama Highway back to Senior Island as well as back to S Avenue. So we really have to look at this and do what we can do on our part. Now, understanding most of this, and it was very articulated by you in the meeting, that we only have 2 stops. And you indicated those 2 stops and how we can do our part at maybe asking them to load the trains that are coming directly to the Port of Palm Beach on the rear of the train, so to decrease the amount of time and the closures of those areas. But that is the one thing that we can hopefully find out at the next meeting tomorrow at 10 o'clock.
Yeah, there's one when they said, if you recall, the commissioner, is the quiet zone.
Yeah, the quiet zone.
Apparently at 2 o'clock in the morning, a train may go by and blow the whistle while our neighbors are asleep. So everybody obviously wakes up, I would imagine. Yeah, so that's going to be discussed.
Yeah, and then the quiet zone, and then it was also indicated that if the city was to expend those expenditures in order for people to come into compliance with that quiet zone, it's still at the discretion of the train operator whether or not he will adhere to that. So my biggest focus not only was the quality of life, but the most safety is the most important. So,
all right. So tomorrow morning, 10 o'clock. Moving on, update on Mozinga. Some of you commissioners have asked. Since our last board meeting, staff has had several face-to-face meetings with Mozinga Cement management to finalize the contract. We're almost there. I would say we're about the 2-yard line. It's not much for us to complete. And just as a reminder, we are negotiating a 20-year contract with options. Estimated first-year revenue is approximately $850,000. An update on the Director of Finance position. We have met with several well-qualified candidates for the Director of Finance position. An offer will be made, and perhaps by next board meeting, we will have the position filled. I can give you an update. We did make an offer, and essentially, we might have been about $50,000, $60,000 apart. 7. Those of you who have children, please put them in finance. Let them pick out the next fall. All right. Americana cruise ship. Commissioners, we received somewhat of a delay notice. We were hoping that they would start in September, but right now we're looking at a early November startup. Is COVID. That seems to be the problem. That's why they had to delay it, but everything's still on track, no pun intended. Moving on, Commissioners, the next is the usual events. They are still holding that AAPA 110th Annual Convention in Austin, Texas. They have a real deep port in Austin, Texas, right in the middle of the state. No one understands why that's happening. Break bulk will still go on in Houston, and then this year the World Maritime Day has been moved up to 9/30. Normally it would have been in April. And of course, Latin American Congress port down in Cartagena is still on for November. Commissioners, with that, I would like to just take 2 seconds, or maybe 3, to make a small presentation to a gentleman who's here, and won't be here how much longer. Mr. Paul Zielinski, will you please come up? We have a couple goodies as a reminder that yes, he worked for us. And Paul, please open up your Christmas gift. Read what it says.
Yeah. The legend has retired.
Diabetes.
But you're smiling.
Spin image of
Absolutely. I cannot thank you enough.
only money.
It's only-
Thank you, Paul.
I just want to thank everyone for the support I've gotten over the years. They didn't make when I came here 15 years ago. In my mind, I kept it. Hopefully in yours I did as well. And thank you for everything.
With that, Commissioners, are there any questions? If not, I'll yield the floor to our engineer.
82, work engineers report. Good evening, Commissioners. I'll be brief because I'm going to give you a really long one next number of items. Tonight, you'll soon receive presentations from the selected consultants with respect to the Port Infrastructure Development Program. I think you all know it's a very exciting project for the future of Port Palm Beach. The selected consultant will work with Port staff for the next couple of weeks and try to bring you a contract and work order to begin this project. They will be preparing the design build criteria package for the new facilities and following the guidance that we set forth in the Port Master Plan. Some other good news is that on August 31st, the Corps of Engineers did receive several bids on the port maintenance dredging project. This is one of the largest maintenance dredging projects that's been done in this port in 15 years. They can't disclose those bids yet. They go through a review process, a 30-day review process. By the end of this month, they will be awarding that contract, and we'll hear who our dredger is going to be, and we'll know more details on the timing. This one will basically hit any of the areas that are not at full project depth throughout the entire channel, all the way up into the north extension of Turning Basin, the entrance channel, etc. So this is a major project. Also, to update you on the strategic master plan, the executive director of planning, and the port engineer participated in a kickoff meeting for the preparation of the port's new strategic master plan. The team members from Moffett Nichols met with staff, and our first discussion established the goals and the scope for the plan. Also, President recognized the importance of the future impact this plan will have on the Port of Palm Beach. The plan will guide the Port of Palm Beach into the exciting future of the port in a way that will make staff and commissioners proud to be part of this growth. Be glad to answer any questions, or we can get moving on to the agenda.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, Richard Pinsky, the main thrust of my report this month has already been here and gone, Representative MANUEL. Thank you for taking the time and allowing him to stop by. And we've tried to schedule him since the end of session, and we've been unable to do so tonight was the first opportunity. Next week I will be in Tallahassee. Things will be started with our first committee week. We have heard a rumor that there's going to be a refiling of the port preemption bill, clean up the things that didn't get done. This was the bill that impacted cruise ships in Key West, so stay tuned. And a quick update on the interlocal agreement between the Port of Palm Beach and the city of Riviera Beach. I told you last month, it was on hold pending the new port attorney to come on to help take it to the next step. Congratulations, we now have a port attorney, so hopefully we'll get started on that. And the same is true for the Inlet Island lease. We did get another draft back from the county, and they have removed the provision that considered an MOU between all the cities impacted prior to the approval of the lease. They've now initiated an effort to have a separate MOU between all the cities, and I understand, I haven't seen it, but I understand that document is already transmitted, distributed to the other cities. So it won't be in our lease, but they are doing that separately. Again, as soon as we're able to get with your new attorney, we'll take it to the next step. Let's keep our fingers crossed that next month will be the one. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions? We're down to page 4. Are there any commissioner reports? Okay. Madam Clerk?
Old business item 3, Port Infrastructure Development Program presentation and qualifications and consultant selection step 2.
Commissioners, here we go. The August 19th board meeting, the commission selected the following 3 consultants to make formal presentations to the board. I'll list them in the order that they will be making their presentations. They have drawn out the hat. The first presentation will be from Trans Systems, the second from Jacobs, and the third from HDR. There'll be a hard 15-minute stop on their presentation, at which point the commissioners are welcome to ask as many questions as you think are necessary for making an informed decision.
Well, good evening, Mr. Chairman and members of the Commission. It's a great pleasure, first of all, to be here, and thank you so much for having selected the Trans Systems team to make a presentation to you this afternoon or this evening. During the next 15 minutes, I will certainly try to convince you, and I hope very convincingly, that we are the right team with the right experience and the right approach. I have several key team members with me here today, and they will be available to answer any questions that you might have after my presentation. But first, my name is Rick Perrin. I am going to be the project manager, and I will lead this effort. I work for Trans Systems. Also with me from Trans Systems are several people who have helped me with this project in its development over the past 4 to 5 years. And they are Jim Dubay, Monique Mitchell, Greg Munden, Derek Collins, and Robert Mariner. Also, we have our partner in this project, another sub-consultant to us, and that would be Casey Long, who will be the assistant project manager from Kimley Horn. From EC Fennell, we have Gerald Parrott. From Tierra, South Florida, we have Raj Krishnasamy, and from Brown & Phillips, we have Tony Brown. The team's composition reflects our unique knowledge and understanding of this project. It also reflects the experience that we have had working with what we consider to be the area's best specialty consultants. The experience and capabilities of the team are truly extraordinary, and they are evidenced for you in the resumes and the past projects that you've seen in the SOQs. No skill, no specific expertise, or no experience can be found missing. 3 of the 6 firms who are local MBEs, and they will do all of the mapping, the surveying, the geotechnical engineering, the materials testing, the mechanical engineering, and the electrical engineering on this project. So they will be playing very significant roles. 4 of the 6 team members have offices here and here very close by within 20 minutes of the port. So honestly, I don't see how a better team could have been assembled for this effort. Experience on similar projects is very important, but experience on this project and having worked with all of your stakeholders to plan and prepare the successful grant application truly sets us apart from all the rest. We prepared 3 successive studies between 2016 and 2019 for FDOT. The 2016 study actually looked at the feasibility of a barge rail operation at berth 17. That might be quite interesting to you today. The 3 studies that we did for FDOT took the plan for the facility to the next level, and the 3rd version of the facility plan was finished in 2019. It was a highly collaborative effort among the port, FDOT, FEC, which is for East Coast Rail, and of course, Tropical Shipping. The 2019 plan was the basis for the Port Infrastructure or Development, or PID grant. Now, I would like to take credit for the PID grant, but I think real credit goes to Robert Mariner. And it was Robert Mariner's guidance and influence with US DOT that helped us develop a truly effective lobbying strategy. And it was supported by your members and representatives at the state and federal level. Now, what that meant is when Manny ALMIRA called the Secretary of Transportation's office, and he did frequently, it was the Chief of Staff who picked up the phone and listened carefully. The result was that the Port of Palm Beach received a $13.25 million grant when no other Florida port got any money out of the grant program that year. The project, as we presented it in the PID grant application, had 4 specific elements. First was a new intermodal freight rail facility. Second was an automated gate, multi-lane automated gate for containerized cargoes. Third was a non-containerized cargo, separate from the rest. And fourth were significant improvements to the terminal railway system. The rail facility alone will more than double your intermodal rail capacity, bumping it from 45,000 20-foot containers per year to 95,000 containers per year. Now, this project will also provide a number of other benefits, but 2 of them are it will create well over 100 local jobs, direct jobs, indirect jobs, and induced jobs. And a very important point, it will take 29,000 truck trips per year off the I-4 corridor. It's already too crowded. So in short, I think we believe that this project may very well define the future of the port. The cargo facility expansion project is definitely going to be a major focus of your strategic master planning effort. Now, the plan itself, the master plan will ensure 2 things about this project. First, it will maximize the positive impact that this project has on the movement of cargo through the port. And second, it will make sure it fits. And what I mean by that is it will make sure that this project complements and supplements both current and future operations and developments at the port. Our integration with the master planning team from the very start is absolutely essential. We will collaborate very close with the master planning team to produce the very best facility plan. Then Trans-Systems and the Trans-Systems team will prepare the design criteria package from that best facility plan. Trans-Systems' experience in planning, designing, and representing the owners of intermodal freight and rail facilities can be seen in multiple ports and inland distribution centers throughout the United States. This is what we do. This is our sweet spot. This is what we do the best. Trans-Systems is well experienced in design-build project delivery process with nearly 200 significant design-build projects in our portfolio. Annually, we perform program management and construction engineering and inspection services for approximately $650 million worth of construction every year. Now, we do agree that having 2 separate firms, one to do the master plan and another to design the project, will maximize both accuracy and innovation. The master plan, we do expect that the master plan will change the scope of this project. And that's fine, because we have recently been in contact with MARAD, and we understand that scope changes are allowable, so long as we can prove that the original intent of the project and the original purpose of the project remain the same. Now, given our past and present work on developing the project's plan, preparing the grant application, our relationship with US DOT and the Maritime Administration, MARAD, and assisting the port with the actual administration of the grant to set it up, and having completed the design of the emergency rail repairs, I think Trans-Systems is definitely the team with the right experience. Now, recently, Ron Coddington confirmed that the oral presentations today were for you to select a firm to prepare the design criteria package, be the port's representative during construction, and perform inspections during construction. From that scope, we identified 6 major tasks that we would have to accomplish. First would be to collaboratively and very closely work with the master planning consultant to develop the final plan. Once we have a final plan, we will prepare viable design options. Then we would model and test the options to maximize the final design's efficiency. Then we would prepare the design criteria package, and then, if requested by the port, we would be available to assist in the evaluation of their proposals. And finally, and very important, we would perform engineering services as the owner's representative during construction. Our role during this project's delivery is specifically to, 1, develop the design criteria package that embodies the facilities as they're envisioned in the new strategic master plan, and 2, to provide engineering services to be your daily eyes and ears and your boots on the ground throughout the construction process in order to ensure quality, progress, and cost control. The design criteria package itself will incorporate the latest technologies, the designated terminal operating system, and it must also be flexible to be able to adapt to new operating systems, varying levels of terminal automation, and even autonomous equipment. It must be expandable to accommodate greater throughput demands in the future. It must be also developed to preserve the continuity of port operations during construction. The design criteria package itself is essential for getting responsive bids from design builders. After development of the design criteria package, we'll become your representative throughout the construction process. We would in fact become an extension of staff to oversee the design builder's early works, to review design submittals, requested design changes, and change orders. We would perform construction inspections and materials testing. We would perform multiple project audit functions. And very important, we would be continuously present on the project site to protect the port's interests. Our project management approach is focused on what we call best value. What that means is what we do and how we perform is focused on bringing the highest and best value to the Port of Palm Beach. More specifically, we have 3 absolutes to our approach. The first absolute is accountability to the client for project scope, quality, budget, and schedule. Second is continuous and candid communication. Third is the allocation and application of the right skills and competencies. Our approach is further characterized by 4 distinct cornerstones. And the first cornerstone is communication. And what we have found in years of experience in very similar projects is that the most important element of a successful project is what we call multi-directional communication. Now for this project, our team must become fully integrated into the master planning effort. And that is so what we ultimately design and what is actually built is something that truly fits the port's future. Throughout the design and construction, we will schedule in-progress reviews with Ron Coddington, Carl Baker, Al Fawcett, the master planning team, even your stakeholders, and later, during final design and construction with the design build contractor that you will eventually select. All of this is in order to ensure design accuracy and quality. The second cornerstone is identifying and mitigating project risks. In the PID grant application, we were tasked with identifying the most significant risks. We did that. And we had to then develop appropriate mitigation strategies to address those risks. So we will be focused first on those identified risks and mitigate them before they can negatively impact the project's budget, schedule, or quality. We will also be intently focused on the identification of new risks and developing effective mitigation strategies for them before they can negatively impact the project. The third cornerstone is meeting your future needs. Our mission here is twofold. One is to develop a design criteria package for facilities that will work today and well into the future for decades to come. We'll use proprietary computer modeling to test design options under a broad spectrum of conditions and demands to maximize the design's efficiency and its durability for years to come. Every facet of the new cargo facility will be thoughtfully designed with flexibility and to be easily modified and expanded for the inevitable evolution and changes that we will see in the marine cargo business. Second, we will be your representative, both during the final design and through construction. This function, previously described, is essential to the correct and efficient final design and construction of your expanded cargo facilities. The fourth cornerstone is safety, quality, and accountability. Everyone on the Trans Systems team understands our commitment to safety, and all have been properly trained. The Trans Systems staff members have a high level of safety awareness given to our deep roots in the railroad industry and our training. This team's attention to safety will permeate the design process and be readily evident during construction when we function as your representative through that construction process. Quality. Quality is an absolute non-negotiable. Quality assurance and quality control, they are ultimately my responsibility as the project manager. Our team's organization reflects the allocation of considerable capability and experience to the QA/QC function. And that function reports direct to me. Speaking of reporting directly, that brings me to the final point, accountability. Accountability is simple. My discipline leaders and subs report to me. I am 100% accountable to Ron Coddington, to Manny Almira, and to you, the commission, to deliver. Now, I can say that no team has our knowledge or experience. There will be no learning curve. No team has collaborated as extensively with your project stakeholders. No team knows the current conditions and capability of your rail system. I was not done. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Are there any questions from the board?
Has your team provided any innovative solutions to rails and highway access to any ports?
Yes, we certainly have, and I think what I'd like to do is call on Greg London and possibly Monique Whitehead to talk about that. But that's something that we're very proud of, and we certainly will approach this project with the appropriate innovation and innovative ideas and innovative, frankly, innovative procedures. So, Greg, would you like to come up?
And their ports similar to the Port of Congress?
Pardon me?
Their ports. Okay.
Oh, go ahead.
Can you state your name for that?
My name is Greg London, Trans Systems. So your question was specifically innovative connections to ports from surrounding highway networks?
No. Providing innovative solutions to rail and your experience with rails.
Okay, so in terms of our specific experience as a team, we've worked on ports around the country, and we've done a number of innovative projects. Some of the interesting ones that we have are around automation in rail ports, which is a new thing. There are two that we spoke about as a team specifically, where the cranes and the equipment around the facility are actually controlled by GPS and allow for generally personnel-free operations throughout the ports and the intermodal facilities that are there. So we have experience with those, the new technologies that are coming out, and as Ron mentioned in his presentation, there are varying degrees of those innovative processes, and we may not be able to make that jump on day number one. It may be something that we need to plan for in the future in a phased approach, and because of the varying levels of integration that we've had with these other projects, we will be able to guide your port with the best steps forward that are economical for your immediate, while being able to prepare and not have to rework the sites in the future to implement those greater levels of autonomy as they become more major.
I guess you gave a general answer, but I guess my question is, could you name the port that you've done the innovations with rail? You said several ports. You said ports in general. Could you name one or two?
Yeah, so the one that we have here on the screen for automation was the BNS.
It was rail?
It was rail. It was BNSF's logistics facility in Kansas.
Which port?
It's an inland port.
Okay, because you said ports. So, what's the name of it?
The BNSF logistics facility.
So it's not seaward?
It's not a seaport, it's an inland intermodal facility.
So you have limited experience. Okay, thank you. That's all I wanted to know.
My name is Monique Mitchum. Just to add to that, we do have quite a bit of experience working with the Port of Long Beach. They recently were working on expansion requirements for their rail facilities on site, and we use simulation modeling to take a look at different impacts that adding those design tracks would have, both from a preliminary to a full build out, as well as being able to put constraints on those rail facilities, so late trains, etc., and how those would impact the operations overall and the ability to take on additional trains as the week went on. Which we all know that late trains can impact a facility significantly, especially when you're looking at a facility like this, where as of right now, there's not a whole lot of track space to fit a long train. By expanding these tracks, there's still going to be somewhat limited capacity compared to how long the main line can run in this area. And so these simulation models can have a big impact on how to mitigate some of those issues that might come up. We also do visualization modeling, which can assist with giving stakeholders, whether that's yourself or whether that's the community or other stakeholders as in tenants, the ability to take a look and understand better what it's going to look like at the end of the project before we even get there. We've done work with South Carolina Ports Authority on their inland port projects where you are actually able to walk through the entire facility using visualization modeling of just having a camera system on your face. Does that answer your question?
Yes.
Commissioner Enright, I would point out, if you take a look at what's on your screen, this is our ports and intermodal experience. This shows at both inland ports, as we were talking about in Kansas City, and ocean ports and even river ports. So we have worked at multiple ports throughout the United States. These are ocean ports, river ports, and inland ports in the development of intermodal rail and bringing the intermodal rail into those facilities so they are truly intermodal facilities. I think one recently that we completed where we were the designers, and you've probably been past it, is up in Jacksport. The Jacksport Intermodal Container Transfer Facility at Dames Point was designed by Trans Systems. And we used computer simulation and modeling to be able to develop, basically to identify the most effective design for that facility. And that facility today is running very well. The only problem really with that facility is it only has one rail. It has only access to CSX. And many of the users there would like to access Norfolk Southern. But the facility itself is extremely efficient. And it was designed so that eventually it can be automated if it comes to that. We can use autonomous equipment and so forth. But that's a good example of a port where we have recently employed our technology to be very innovative in the design. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, and I would like to add one thing. And this, for us, my group, it's much, much more than just an interesting and challenging engineering design project. This is a project in which all of us, especially I, have a great feeling of pride in and a great feeling of, frankly, ownership. So I can guarantee you there would be no other team who would truly be as dedicated to its successful completion as the way you see it. So with again, thank you. Appreciate it.
David, you can start.
Sure, yes. The members of the Board of Commissioners, on behalf of our Jacobs team, thank you for the opportunity to present our qualifications, expertise, and to serve the Port of Palm Beach for the Infrastructure Development Consulting Services contract. With over 17 years serving the Port of Palm Beach, Jacobs represents dedication, loyalty, and dependability. So today, our goal is to highlight how can Jacobs support the port, demonstrate our understanding of the project, and discuss how technology can transform and streamline the operations at the port. And then finally, leave you convinced why Jacobs is your #1 consultant for this contract. So as mentioned before, my name is David Ashman. I'm the operations manager or leader for South Florida. And I'm joined by our project manager, Brandy Creed, Max Mozo, our regional port and maritime leader, Mario Loaizo, our chief in charge, and local resident of Palm Beach Gardens, and the former assistant executive director for Riviera Beach. I'm also joined by our MBE partners, so Lamo Kita, representing EAC, and Tony Phillips, representing Brown & Phillips. Our org chart provides a snapshot of our team structure, key personnel and expertise, ready to deliver superior quality on this project. However, in addition to the team that's here, I make special mention of our inclusion and diversity manager, Oyen Ogenpalo. At Jacobs, our core values guide us to a common true north. We do things right, we challenge the accepted, we always aim higher, and we live inclusion. So at the core of how we do business is where Jacobs and the ports find a complement and complement each other, given that the port is guided by integrity, leadership, and teamwork. Our local investment is validated by our passion to champion inclusion and diversity. While the RFQ called for 12% MBE participation, Jacobs is committed to 20% MBE participation. Our MBE partners, as mentioned before, is EAC providing site and civil utilities, roadway engineering, Brown & Phillips providing surveying services, and by special mention, it's been
supporting the port for over 20 years, or almost 20 years, and in Radis International for geotechnical and construction administration services. But most importantly, all three firms have local presence. To deliver the highest standard of quality, I offer you a project manager who has walked in your shoes. A former director of engineering and construction at SFRTA, she has prior experience as partner with FRA, FDOT, CSX, and FES. 24 years of experience, 13 years in rail project implementation, and 100% availability to serve your team. I introduce you to a project manager like no other, Ms. Brandy Creed.
Thank you, David. It is my pleasure to be your project manager, and I'm delighted to be part of this team. So, how can Jacobs help support a company? Next slide. So, to highlight our local knowledge, we know your master plan consultant, Nicole. We work with them, and we look forward to collaborating with them on projects going forward. Our team offers program management expertise that will help you implement all the aspects and requirements of the grant. And we have managed some of the largest programs in the industry, delivering them in multiple methods, including design build, and construction management. And most recently, under my management, we developed design build criteria for the South Florida Regional Transportation Authority, which is a rail yard located in Palm Beach County within Riviera Beach, the Riviera Beach. It included purchasing a piece of land from the port for Palm Beach, and it has storage tracks for vehicles, maintenance kits, and other road and access equipment. We've also provided similar services for Sunrail, the rail yard in Orlando, for Miami, and we are the district-wide rail consultant for the district court. Next slide. So Jacobs supports clients with management of state, federal, and local funding sources. So we will follow MARA's requirements for the grant. We'll make sure that we keep proper documentation in case there are any requirements for the oversight team for the grant. We also have in-house policy consultants who are up to date on grant opportunities for the fund. And we have financial specialists who can provide you with cost benefit analysis and follow the USDOT construction job. And our NEPA team has experience like no other. We've led some of the largest projects with state and local NEPA process, including obtaining Title I for exclusion determination. An example of a successful grant that we managed was for the Port Newark Container Terminal, where a $50 million hybrid grant is also a community project. And other grants we managed include Fastlane, which is now called Infra, Receipt, and CPM. So the goal of the project is to increase revenue for the port. And the fundamental way of doing this is by increasing the throughput of both the import and export containers. So we know that the Port of Palm Beach is already very efficient with the highest per acre throughput in Florida. And just under 44,000 TEUs per year are moved by intermodal rail. So it is, therefore, it's increasing and improving the rail access, the storage, and access around the port is key for you to be able to double your TEUs moved by intermodal rail and ultimately get to your goal of 100,000 TEUs per year. So we can do this by using our modal connections to improve the speed at which the containers leave the yard, minimizing dwell time, and increasing container stack length. We can also investigate automation and other technologies to improve the yard and integrate it into terminal operations. And most importantly, improving your yard and the operations of the port. The project such as this one is benefit to the community because it adds new jobs. Right. So our team has experience implementing similar scope nationally and right here at the port. We have design and construction oversight experience of circulation improvements and access, adding gates, rails, and RPMs that meet custom border control requirements, design of track access, storage tracks, crossing gates, and other runway and rail facilities. So, Jacob Rose Florida Port, and we are proud to say that the Port of Palm Beach District has been our longest standing client. Most recently with the project that we completed include the container yard expansion in 2019 and the rail entrance upgrade in 2017. We provide services related to on-call, rail, and simultaneous to other ports in the state as well. So we understand that operations at the port must remain uninterrupted during construction and implementation of the project. So we will use our program management expertise to ensure that we coordinate the design features with all the internal and external stakeholders in the port, incorporate their needs into the project schedule, the security plan, construction staging, maintenance of traffic, and then also incorporate any regulatory requirements as well as maintenance activities that we must continue to have. So communication will be key to execute. Now to talk to you about the expertise that we can bring about technology, I introduce you to our maritime leader, Matt Olson.
Thanks, Brittany. I just wanted to talk briefly today about some of the technologies that we can bring to bear on this project, either through design or including in the design criteria package as we take the project to market. As part of this project, the rail capacity is going to be upgraded, the inbound and outbound gate capacity is going to be improved, the internal roadway and cargo circulation conflicts are going to be minimized, with the goal of minimizing and decreasing the dwell time, which has the effect of improving the overall terminal throughput. Technologies such as automation will be used to kind of tie these project elements together to help the terminal work. Not as kind of preventative projects, but to improve and maximize the efficiency to help you achieve your goals. And when I say automation, this isn't necessarily full terminal automation. It can be simple as implementing an integrated terminal operating system that ties together the gate elements and the container interchange of the gate with the yard operations. Amongst kind of other measures, and Jacobs brings this knowledge to you. We've done this in several different locations. We've just finished the gate project at Jacksport for SSA, a terminal that's going to move 1 million containers a year. Fort Newark Container Terminal, as we spoke of earlier, is another one that we've really worked on to help make sure that the bottleneck is not at the gate. It's waiting on containers to come off the ship. Next slide, please. Some other things that we do, other kind of cutting edge technologies that we have and have experience with. Jacobs has automated terminal design experience. We've designed automated terminals on the East Coast and West Coast of the U.S. We've designed semi-automated terminals and use kind of spot automation at terminals around the globe. And one of the key things, though, is we work in partnership with terminal operators. In this case, you're the main operator at Port of Palm Beach's Tropical Shipping. We've worked with them, many years. We strive to understand what it is that they do, how they work, to make sure that the design that's going to go, either the criteria or the final design is going to be something that they can work with, in the yard. Some other things that we do, just to kind of outline some things we do, lead decarbonization efforts for our clients. That's electrifying yard equipment. That's electrifying and green, what's called green fleeting, truck fleets and such. Some other things that we're actually exploring right now are maglev, container movements. That's to take automated container movements from near the berth back to a yard using maglev technology. Port of Palm Beach is going to have direct access to all of our experience, and that we have
with container terminals kind of globally. A few other things that aren't necessarily added, that were talked about in the RFP are our approach to resiliency, climate change. We view every project, particularly port projects on the waterfront, we view that with the lens of making sure that we can maximize your current expenditure and also maximize the functional time of the terminal. So with that, I think I'm going to turn it back over to Brandy, and she's going to talk about why Jacobs.
So why choose Jacobs? Choose Jacobs because we have been in your program for 70 years. We have national expertise, and we have an amazing core team nationally and here locally. I am committed to being a project manager, and I'm getting the expertise of implementing rail infrastructure projects for a state agency in Florida. Our experts in resiliency will help you maximize the useful life of your infrastructure, and inclusion and diversity are the core of our culture. So we look forward to working with you. Thank you so much for your time. And we'll take any questions that you have now.
Thank you. Commissioner Enright.
I was going to ask you a question on rail and your innovative solutions to rail and access to ports, but you already answered that. But you gave me all the stuff about rail, and I know you've been with rail for years and years. But my other question, you're the project manager. Where will you be located here? Or do you have to travel backwards and forth, or what?
I'm in Fort Lauderdale.
You're in Fort Lauderdale. So during your tenure, you would just... So your office is Fort Lauderdale, you would just commute?
I will come, yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Any additional questions from the board? Thank you. Thank you.
Are you serious? This is your little one? Are you serious? Oh my God. You better make sure you up for your ass. You're in trouble. Oh, Jesus. So she can't go to, there are only two, but Seminole Ridge, they're out there in Wellington. There's no other high school right there? Are you serious?
Come on down.
Oh, that's nice. But then you still have to drive, so. Thank
Yeah. Well, we gotta wait for.
Please begin.
Are you ready? State his name for the record.
State your name.
Hugo Bermudez. Good afternoon, my name is Hugo Bermudez. I'm with HDR, and I'll be leading the team today and serve as your project manager. On behalf of the HDR team, I would like to thank the Board of Commissioners, the board staff, for giving us this opportunity to present our team. We believe that our technical expertise, our project approach, and working knowledge of the board and stakeholders differentiate us from the competition. In front of you is a placemat for your reference that shows the HDR and presentation team, and on the back side some recommendation letters from several boards. The team led by HDR is first of all local. The team consists of 5 minority and disadvantaged businesses, and we will far exceed the DBE goals under this program. The team has a history of working together on similar projects and has full knowledge of the Port Palm Beach settings and challenges. We will deliver exceptional results on every aspect of this project. This infographic shows our team's local presence in South Florida, particularly in Palm Beach County, Broward County, and Miami-Dade County. As you can see, 6 of our team members have offices within Palm Beach County. We believe this local presence and experience gives our team the ability to be responsive to the port's every need. Our presentation team. On this slide, we would like to highlight some of the most important members of our team. Patrick Alou and Chris Hassel with PSA, Chrissy Brush with Moffitt Nickel, Nate Asplund with Columbia Strategic Consulting Group, Ron Davis with the Mosner Group. Lastly, with HDR, we have Samantha Leahy and Deputy Project Managers Kevin Keller and Josiah Burke. I will serve as Project Manager. I have over 27 years experience in the navigation and maritime industry. For HDR, I am currently a National Business Class Director, and I live in Palm Beach County. My office is 15 minutes away from the port. I will be the go-to person for the port under this contract, committed to making sure that every project we are assigned to by the port is given top priority by our team. I will bring the very best our team has to offer and ensure we deliver these projects to meet the port's objectives, that they're delivered on time, within budget, and they've been thoroughly reviewed through a quality control process before delivery. HDR has been around for over 100 years. We have over 10,000 employees worldwide and 200 offices. We think global, but act local. We have over 500 professionals in 9 offices in Florida, and we have 3 offices here in South Florida with over 100 employees. We have a strong commitment to benefit the communities where we live and work through our engineering services and the HDR Foundation, which has supported more than 150 organizations nationally and provided more than $3 million in charitable funds. Our team is committed to the Port of Palm Beach. 6 of our members have offices here within the county. And for example, PSA has an office here within the port facilities and is being led by Chris Sept. Our team has executed over 170 projects within Palm Beach County, and we participated together in over 35 community service projects. Now I would like to turn it over to Kevin Keller, our Deputy Project Manager, who is an expert helping seaports develop intermodal rail facilities, and he will present our technical capabilities and approach.
Thanks, Hugo. First of all, commissioners, staff, I want to say we are thrilled to be here. We are really excited about this opportunity. Thank you so much for allowing us to be here. Just a little bit about relationships. We work on relationships. We're very much relationship oriented. As you can see on the graphic here in front of you, on that left, upper left is Maritime Administration, MARAD. We work with MARAD every day. You know MARAD is going to be really critical for making the PIDP grant program run successfully. We have staff embedded at MARAD, so we literally know the process well. We know what they're thinking, we know what they're expecting, and we can really, I think, help you and the staff navigate, quote unquote, those waters with them. Obviously, the port, having PSA here really, really helps us understand not only infrastructure, but business processes as well. FDOT, we do a lot of work with Florida DOT, not just District 4 here in this part of the state, but also their multimodal freight office. We are the primary contractors and consultants for FDOT. In fact, we're the ones upgrading the state rail plans for FDOT right now. Tropical, we understand how important tropical is to the ports. It is one of the leading shippers here. With PSA's help, we understand that we have to meet their needs as well as other port client needs. I also want to talk about Florida East Coast Railroad. Obviously, the ICTF has to have rail operations. You have to have buy-in from FEC. We just happen to have on our team Nate Asplund with Columbia. As some of you know Nate, he was the former president and CEO of Florida East Coast Railway. We have relationships with FEC that they're unparalleled. Also, that goes to FEC's parent company, Grupo Mexico. We also do work straight for Grupo Mexico. So we have those relationships cooked in. A little bit about capabilities. This is our bread and butter project. This is what we do every day. I do these projects all the time. I really want to bring that expertise here home to the Port of Palm Beach. We're going to make sure that all the lessons learned that we have are here at the ports. And we're going to help Manny and Ron and the rest of the staff really, really bring home this project. A little bit about our overall experience. You can see there's a lot of dots on the maps, especially on the East Coast. So again, like I said, we do these projects every day. Everything from the land side to the water side. My particular experience is on the freight and the ICTF side on the rail. I think you'll see on the next slide that we have an approach that is pretty tried and true. It's basically 8 steps. The first 4 steps is very interactive with the port staff. Right? We're going to work with Manny and Ron and the staff to really come up with the design criteria, the operations criteria that will really best suit this project and best really suit the port and its tenants and clients. That's what it's all about. So steps 1 through 4 will be led by our project manager Hugo here, with the right technical staff supplementing Hugo. And this is where, again, we're going to get to that alternative delivery methodology. We know that on the grant it's design build. I got to tell you though, again, I work with MARAD every day. They're pretty flexible in this because right now we don't know what we don't know. And so what we're going to be doing in this first phase is really refining how we go forward in the delivery approach. Maybe it's design bid build. Maybe it's construction management at risk. We're going to understand that better as we go along those first couple of stages in the methodology. And again, working hand in hand with the staff here We're going to make sure that we get the most optimistic presentation and delivery we can do. A couple of project examples, just to show that we do this. One is a project we've done for the Port of Savannah and Georgia Port Authority, right up the road here, so to speak. We worked hand in hand on this with one of our team members, Moffitt Dental, and it's basically a huge mega rail facility to help expand capacity and throughput at the Port of Savannah in the Garden City Terminal. We've done everything from prepare the concept for the project, do the conceptual design, work with the Class 1 railroad carriers, in this case it was CSX and Norfolk Southern, and the short line, Genesee and Wyoming. We've done all the permitting, we did all the final engineering, and we've done the construction management. Just a little bit more on the construction management, that graphic you see there. We have a tool, it's a GIS database management system that's just for construction management. What that does for you is it really has every asset that's going to be involved in the construction of the facility that's going to be captured in that GIS database. It's yours. When we're done, we hand this over to you. Instead of just having as-built drawings, y'all are going to have a real GIS database that you can have, and you can identify asset by asset by asset. Pretty innovative. We're doing this at other ports too. Port of Wilmington, North Carolina is really similar to your port here. It's a really tight space, but their throughput is incredible, what they can move. But there's, for expansion, to improve growth capabilities, we really have to look at things like new rail, new roadway, new gates, new strads. It's also a strad operation. So we're doing that right now. Two new port projects we have, Port of Plaquemines and Port of New Orleans. Those are greenfield ICTFs. We're just starting on those. You can see some icebergs on the slide from Brandy, who I know Manny knows pretty well, the Executive Director of Port of New Orleans. And then a little bit about South Carolina Port Authority. We just finished a brand new ICTF for the Port of Charleston. It's the Hugh Letterman Terminal. We've done everything again on that one, from start to finish. We just finished it a little bit ahead of schedule and well ahead of budget. So just again, just to show you what we can do. Real quick on future funding. Congrats on the PIDB grant. That's a lot to crow about, basically. But you know that we're going to be identifying future work and future projects here at the port as we continue to grow. I just want to put a plug in that, you know, with the new Infrastructure Act being passed through the House, it's already been approved by the Senate, obviously, and we've been a part of that, by the way. We've been successful in 2 out of every 3 port grant projects being awarded today. So it's pretty impressive. I love to brag about that. I'm very proud of that. It's because we also know what MARAD expects in these kind of grants, right? So just to wrap up my part of this, we really understand and appreciate where the port's been. We know the history. For example, we know the rail ferry service to Cuba once upon a time between the port and Florida East Coast. We know where you are now. We know what the PIDB grant work is. We know where that's going to get you. Maybe more importantly, though, we understand that you have a future legacy that you guys expect to have. We are here to help with that. We understand the impact to the port, the communities, and the region that can really develop and evolve from this project. We're going to do everything we can to make that happen. And with that, I'm going to throw it back to Hugo.
All right. Thank you, Kevin. Well, according to the Engineering News Record, HDR is the #6 design firm in the country, #6 in transportation, #4 in maritime and port facilities, and #6 in mass transit and rail. As we presented, our team is diverse and local. We have intricate knowledge of the port's opportunities and aspirations. We have the technical capability to deliver these projects. And I strongly believe that if you select this team, the port will not be disappointed. We will be able to deliver on your vision. We are ready to go. And we ask for your trust. We can deliver. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Bermudez. Commissioner Enright.
I think maybe you've already answered the question, but I just wanted to hear, you discussed a lot in rail and how you provided innovative solutions to rail with that sense support. Could you just tell us a little bit more about that? You mentioned many of the other ports, but I want to know how you provided innovative solutions to rail at ports.
Absolutely, Ken. I think this is your question.
Yeah, Commissioner Enright, thank you. I mentioned a couple of similar projects that we've done. Let's talk about the Wilmington Port in North Carolina. Very similar port. It's very tight in terms of space that can be used to expand and to optimize operations. We've actually had to completely redesign the gate entrance. In fact, what we've done now is we have a north gate, and to basically increase throughput and to help rail capacity and access in and out of the port, we've actually now, through a road called Front Street that runs parallel to the port, have a new south gate. So now we have two gates that can access the port. We have relocated a road called Frontage Road to basically take congestion off of that main entrance. And that allowed more room to expand the actual rail terminal itself. So pretty innovative. It had a lot of moving pieces, but again, at the end of the day, we did it within a really tight schedule and a really tight budget, and it's working. So that's just an example where I think we were innovative in that.
Thank you. Any additional questions? Any council? All right, with that being said, thank you for your presentation.
Thank you very much. Thank you. We appreciate it.
Do we have time for 3 more?
Okay, Commissioners, I think you already have your ranking sheets. If you carefully consider and rank the number 1 and number 2 and you rank firm, we'll begin negotiations immediately with the number 1 ranked person.
All the way down to 6, right?
No, 3.
You need only rank number 1, 2, and number 3.
might do it now with the first preface.
We're gonna cut this is this one.
This is the record.
This is the end.
This is the record.
And all the years I've been here, I'm gonna shoot. This is it. 6 o'clock. Yeah. We're talking about, we haven't been there on that line. We're talking about.
Commissioners, the results are you had ranked HDR number 1, Trend Systems number 2, and Jacobs number 3. If you'll ratify that, we'll begin negotiations immediately.
The Vice Chair.
All right, Joe, come on.
I think we just need a motion to accept the results as they're shown.
Wayne said to deal with that.
So it is HDR, correct?
I have a motion, Mr. Chair. I move that we select HDR as number 1, and should that fail, we then go to Trend Systems and then to Jacobs.
Second.
Okay, it's been properly moved by Commissioner Richards and second by Commissioner CIKLIN. Are there any questions? Hearing or seeing none? All in favor? Well, actually, Madam Clerk, call roll.
Chair Joseph Anderson,
Yes.
Vice Chair Larry Sigmund, Secretary Treasurer Jean Enright,
Yes.
Commissioner Wayne Richards,
Yes.
Commissioner Patrick Rowland.
Yes.
Okay, motion passes unanimously. Congratulations and thank you to each of the presenters. Thank you for everyone that replied to our solicitation, and thank you for the presenters today.
Old business, item 4, Denise Track and Hamilton Sewer Plant Analysis and or Replacement.
Commissioner, since our last discussion about the MOC chiller plant, we determined that there was a competitively bid government contract available and that the court could piggyback on. So what I'm asking you to do is give a motion to approve the cancellation of the previous RFQ, chiller plant consulting services, and then a motion to approve initiation of the chiller plant purchase with Train through the OMNIA government purchase contract. Of course, all this will be reviewed by council before we go into any formal action on that. And it will be brought back to you for approval once we have pricing and gone through all the paperwork on that.
So moved. Second. Okay, properly moved by Commissioner CIKLIN and second by Commissioner Enright. So this is just the cancellation of the solicitation, correct?
Cancellation, solicitation, and authorization to begin the purchase process through a piggyback contract upon approval of that contract by court counsel.
Okay, are there any questions? Given this is simple and straightforward, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried unanimously. Madam Clerk?
Old business, item 5, HVAC and MOC chiller plant analysis and or replacement, BC Canal Consulting for order number 2021-006.
Based on the approval of the previous agenda item, the port engineer may and will require assistance from an HV engineers at BC Fennell during various steps in the chiller plant replacement project. The initial work order we have brought is in place as required during that process. Any initial scope or cost on this work will be brought back to the board for subsequent approval if necessary. So I would appreciate a motion, consideration of the motion.
Second.
Okay, properly moved by Commissioner Richards and second by Commissioner Walton. All right, any questions? Madam Clerk, call the roll.
Commissioner Patrick Walton,
Yes.
Commissioner Wayne Richards,
Yes.
Secretary Treasurer Jean Enright,
Yes.
Vice Chair Blair Sigmund,
Yes.
Chair Joseph Anderson.
Yes. Motion carried.
Motion carries unanimously 5-0.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Madam Clerk?
Old business item 6, annual audit services, selection of auditing firm. presented by John Romero.
Mr. Chair, Commissioners, this is another item that I became aware of a few weeks ago, and have done some research concerning auditor selection process. And I first would like to start out by reviewing the law that relates to auditor selection procedures. And it's interesting because it's clear to me that I know this directly, but at some point in time it appears that some lobbying group lobbied the legislature, the auditors, to make an effort to take some of the decision-making away from elected bodies and push more of it towards a selection committee. I think that's exactly what was accomplished with the legislation that I'm going to review with you, specifically Section 218.391 of the Florida statutes. This section is entitled Auditor Selection Procedures. I'm not going to go over all of it. I'm just going to go over a couple of the key highlights. And I should also say that I was able to review the transcript of your deliberations at the last meeting concerning the auditor's contract. So I do have an idea of some of the issues and concerns that have been raised, but when you go through the legislation, I think the key issues here is that the law requires the establishment of an auditor selection committee. And it provides for the membership of that committee. It's got to be at least 3 members. And it makes it clear that the staff cannot be part of the decision-making process. They can advise on the process, they can provide technical support to the selection committee, but it's really up to the selection committee to establish the factors that will be used to evaluate the audit services, to pull together the request for proposal, to evaluate the request for proposals, and more importantly, to rank and recommend in order of preference no fewer than 3 firms deemed most highly qualified to perform the services. And the law makes it clear that the governing body, the commission, shall inquire of qualified firms and select one of the firms recommended by the auditor selection committee, negotiate a contract, and when compensation is one of the factors, which is my understanding that it was in this case, the governing board and shall, there's a lot of legislation that uses the discretionary term may. You may do this or you may do that, but in this case, the legislation says that if compensation is one of the factors, and it's used in the evaluation of the proposals, the governing body shall select the highest ranked qualified firm, or must document in the public records the reason for not selecting the highest ranked qualified firm. And so you can deviate from the recommendation of the audit selection committee, but again, you have to make a record. And if you deviate, that the reason must be based on the actual selection criteria. So I'll give you one very simple example. If the selection criteria said the proposal must be written on green paper, and you determine, no, I prefer that it be written on red paper, well, that's not what the criteria says. So it has to be based on the criteria. The solicitation really is the rules of the game. And as a general rule, you're not allowed to change the rules of the game mid-course. Now, as with almost any procurement, you have the discretion. If you are uncomfortable with the process or any components of the process or even the evaluation criteria, you can reject all bids and request that the solicitation go back on the street. When you reject all bids, keep in mind that if you go back on the street with the solicitation, there must be at least one material change or difference in the solicitation. You just can't reissue the same solicitation. There must be a material change to that solicitation.
And I just wanted to ask, but also too, I just have just a couple of line of questioning if my board will indulge me. Number one, you said that we must adhere to our solicitation as well as adhere to the statute. In our last meeting, I indicated you have one firm that was not ranked. They received a 0. Now, based on our solicitation, we didn't follow, in my opinion, that course. So we have it where we had one firm that was rated by the 2 other individuals, and then one firm that wasn't. But when you look through our solicitation, it speaks clearly to that point. That's number one. Number 2, we didn't follow the state statute, which indicates that the meeting had to be properly recorded, be recorded by stenographer or video, or minutes were taken. That was not done. Number 3, the information that we received, the markups, inadvertently with the books, they could have been done inadvertently. I'm not sure. I can't speak to that. Also, when I started looking at certain procedures about this process, it worries me, and I think, in my opinion, it's safe just to hit the restart button and start it all over again, because I don't see where we could, in good conscience, say, hey, this particular company, and it was stated on the last meeting about some impropriety as far as information that was submitted. I'm not sure. I haven't received the information or if they could validate that. But that in itself lends to putting us in a very precarious situation of a protest, and knowing that we did not follow the solicitation as well as state statute, I think that exceeds the bar for resetting it just to protect our interests and also not have to go through that lengthy way of bid protest. And that's been well documented in our previous meeting. So I don't see how we can take a recommendation based off of information that the board members may or may not have had. I can't speak to that, but you're still leaving a couple of companies out there that were docked because of probably, I don't want to say misinformation, disinformation, or maybe they just wasn't privy to what was the solicitation. So that's my thoughts, and that's what I think we should hit the restart button in order to make sure we do this correctly. Commissioner Enright?
I just have 2 little questions for the attorney. When we select the auditing firm, my question is, they will have a 5-year contract, am I correct? Or their contract will be 5 years, but then after the first year, if we no longer want to use them, then we can just say, hey, we're not using you, or are we bound to 5 years? Tell me about the contract. I think that's the most important thing.
Yeah, I will have to confess, I'm not familiar with the type of contracts you use.
No, I'm talking about for this particular, Greg Pickens is gone. I thought that the company will have we give them a 5-year contract. I need some help. And then with the 5-year contract, then the first year, if we no longer want to use them, we can just say goodbye and we're not bound. Am I correct?
We have.
I just want to know.
We have Mr. Zelensky that can probably.
That's why I want to know. I just want to know that. Okay. Tell me how it goes.
The contract that we had with the previous auditor, and that you may choose to use as a model for this one, would allow them 5 years, it's a 5-year term, 2 1-year options for renewal, but either party at any given year may choose to end the contract. So if you pick a firm and If you're dissatisfied with their service, if you're dissatisfied with how they handle themselves, you are not bound for the entire 5 years.
So in essence, we're giving them 5 years with 2 years to renew it. But at the end of the first year, if I have a company that I say, well, they're smart people, but I don't really care. They're not really doing what they need to do. We can just let them go and then pick someone else.
Yes, Commissioner. The majority of contracts written by this board allow the board, after a given year, for reason to terminate the agreement.
So we have an out. So if we select a firm, regardless of who we select, and hey, after the first year we say, hey, they don't do it right, we can let it go. Or else after the first year we say, hey, maybe they need to. So in essence, it's really a one-year contract to me.
May I give you an example? We have an absolute deadline to meet with respect to the auditor and providing it to the auditor general. If we give this auditing firm sufficient time to conduct the audit, and for lack of effort, lack of resources, or whatever, we miss the deadline with the auditor general, that could be, in your decision, grounds for terminating the agreement.
And they can't sue us or anything like that. Yeah. So it's really
I'm not an attorney, but I don't think
okay, so I don't.
Just for point of clarification, I think we're placing cards before the horse. We have to deal with this process and we'll choose the auditing company. And number two, if, say per se, going down that same line of questioning with Commissioner Enright, if we discontinue services within year 1 or year 2 or year 3, etc., do we have to follow the same process of the audit committee in order to arrive at that new? That's what I just want to make sure, and make sure that that's clarification, okay?
That I can address it. The answer is yes. You would have to go back through that whole process.
Okay. With that being said, I just wanted to ask, do the board want to take a comment from the public? Do you want to take that?
Only thing I want to say is this, and I'm done with it. Okay, we've hashed this out and hashed it out, and Mama's getting tired now. And I say that because at the end of the day, if we end up, I don't know any of the persons, okay, let's get real. So if we end up, and I looked at what the auditors, our committee did, and so be it. But at the end of the day, if we're not satisfied with whoever we have, we can get rid of them in a year. And we don't even have to deal with paying them off. We'll pay them for their services and say, goodbye, Reed, see you in my dreams. So as far as I'm concerned, the 1 year, you know, the people can prove themselves if they're worthy of staying at the court. I guess they will work like the Dickens to try to stay here. And then if they end up mediocre, then we can let them go. So I don't have a problem. You know, I'm just looking at the whole picture. Because we only really giving them a 1 year contract, Mr. Sickman, if we want to come back and get rid of them. Am I right? Yeah. I rest my case. I'm done.
Yeah. I'd like to express an opinion. We started the process of an auditor selection in October of last year. And this is where we are now. If we start this process all over again, even having the experiences of avoiding perhaps the pitfalls that we've experienced, my concern, having been the CFO, is being able to get a firm in here with adequate time to do a decent audit in order to meet the state's deadline. A new auditing firm coming in here has to attest to the controls, the internal controls of the court. Our previous auditing firm knew them. The new auditing firm is going to have to come in, like a new attorney, and understand what they are to be able to comment on them. There are 5 or 6 different things that they need to attest to, all of which require a deep understanding of the court's procedures. If there's a fallacy or fault with the procedure that occurred, I extend my personal apologies, but please do not put the court in jeopardy of missing the state audited deadline for an agreement that, in your terms, you can discontinue in 1 year if you're not satisfied. It's a personal opinion, and thank you for allowing me to express it.
And thank you, Mr. Zielinski. I want to say this, and I asked for that information, and I asked for if there were any sensitive dates, and which I was not given that information. I'm just not hearing that information tonight. I thank you for that information, but it would have been well served if that information was received and we could have basically handled that accordingly. I am not comfortable with hearing the sentiments of this board, but I am not comfortable with this process. This process did not follow, did not dot the I's across the T's. There is so many things that went wrong with this process. Now, if the board wants to see fit and go forward, so be it. But at the end of the day, we need to do a better job. We need to do a better job because this was clear. You follow rules 1 through 10. It's very clear in the write-up, the solicitation, and also the law. So I am not okay with this process knowing you have individuals respond to the solicitation and was not afforded the due diligence of being vetted, being ranked. But I see that we just want to move forward and glance over all of the facts of the case. I'm not talking about individual firms. I'm talking about our own process, which we did not follow. But I understand, I hear the sentiment that we want to go forward, but I totally disagree because I do not feel this was fair and transparent. That's all I can have to say. I have a comment card from Tanya Davis.
Well, she's one of the firms, that commissioner.
And she's included in one of the firms. I know we still have the cone of silence, so if that is the case, I just want to hear from the attorney.
Yeah, I don't think it would be appropriate.
Okay, appropriate. So I'm going to give this back to the clerk for the record and understand that because of the cone of silence.
Yes, sir.
Commissioner Sept?
Yes, I'd like to make a motion that we select the recommendation of the Audit Selection Committee and authorize the Executive Director to enter an agreement with the auditing firm.
Second. It's been moved by Commissioner Sept and seconded by Commissioner Richards. Commissioner Walker, you're recognized.
Thank you. In the interest of transparency, I would like to disclose that SCA represents a company in which I have a business relationship. Port Council has indicated I do not have to abstain from voting under the applicable section.
Okay, Commissioner Sept.
And just to say that the audit, picking an audit firm is so much different than almost anything else we do. I mean, somebody up in Tallahassee, some lobbyist or something, must have changed all the rules. I don't know when they did it, but being a board, we have to abide by what the rules are. And that's what it is. So, whether we all like it or don't like it, we got to go along, in this case, with what the law is and what the rules are. So I feel very confident. I spoke to the attorney about it. So I think we'll be fine. I think all the people that submitted were very good, and I'd be happy with that. But I think that's what we picked the selection committee for. They did their job fantastic.
Mr. Romero, in that clause, can you read that clause again where it states that it shall, but there is a different option?
Yes, sir.
Record.
So, and it breaks it up that if compensation was one of the factors in the solicitation, which is my understanding it was in this case, if compensation was one of the factors and used in the evaluation of the proposals, the governing body shall select the highest ranked qualified firm or must document in its public records the reason for not selecting the highest ranked qualified firm. So, again, by way of example, Company A is ranked number 1, Company B is ranked number 2. If you say, I don't believe Company A met the stated criteria in the solicitation, you indicated why, you established some record for that, you could go to the next ranked firm. But again, you're still bound by the selection committee and their ranking.
and does the process, because this is what I struggle with. I'm just going to be very frank. Here it is. We can arbitrarily tell a company, you didn't follow the rules of our solicitation, so you don't get to play at this particular round. That's all good. But in the same breath, we're saying we, the Port of Palm Beach, didn't follow our own rules. So it's okay to put the onus on the respondent, but then the same RFP or the solicitation, we're not even following our own rules. That is the problem that I have with this whole process. And to say it's new, when I have my own company, I don't care if it's with any municipality, I've spilled out several bid packages, responded, and if you don't follow their rules, you are deemed non-responsive, period, no question. And here it is, we didn't follow our own process, which was some egregious steps. We didn't talk about, it spoke directly, and I put on record directly what the statute said. It said shall. It said we will mark or will determine, not the board, not the committee, but that is my comments. Is there any other question before we call the call roll? Commissioner Richards.
I'm going to wait till the end.
I'm finished. Thank you. Commissioner.
Under comments on the Board of Commissioners.
Oh,
I'll wait till after the vote.
I just want to say this.
Okay, let's call the question.
I know we have, okay, I don't need to say anything. I said what I need to say. Let me just say this. I know that maybe this was our first time doing this, and it was new to all of us. And we struggled through it, but we made it through it. And like I said before, we're talking literally about a 1-year contract, and if we don't like it, we can fix it. But I don't want us to not meet our deadlines and not be responsible. So I'm done.
Okay. Madam Clerk, call roll.
Commissioner Patrick Baldwin.
Yes.
Commissioner Jane Richards.
Yes.
Secretary Treasurer Jean Enright.
Yes.
Vice Chair Blair Sibley.
Yes.
Chair Joseph Anderson.
No.
Motion carries 4-1.
And so, I'm sorry, just real quick, who made the motion?
Blair Sibley, Commissioner Blair
Okay.
Sibley made the motion, seconded by Commissioner Wayne Richards.
And the motion was for us to use the fund that the Iron Committee selected. Am I correct?
It is. J1. Madam Clerk.
New business, J1, annual budget approval and adoption of fiscal year 2022 budget and resolution number 2021-13.
Good evening, Commissioners. My intention is to present the final 2022 operating, renewal, and replacement capital budget for your approval. The operating budget and the capital budget have been slightly adjusted since the budget workshop, and I will present to you those changes. The renewal and replacement budget in front of you does not change at all from the workshop.
You got a remote.
Oh. Thank you. At the budget workshop, I presented and provided detail on the 2022 operating budget that reflected $1,522,000 of net revenue. Since that time, several things have occurred. Final employee health insurance costs were negotiated, and the final cost will be $159,000 lower than they anticipated at the workshop. This will include a one-time credit of about $65,000 that we'll get in November. General insurance reflects a slight increase of $2,000 from the workshop. However, this might be slightly higher, as we're still trickling in some responses from some of the companies. Again, this year is kind of a unique year for everybody, but any changes above that will be minimal. The board increased the building and maintenance expense budget by $30,000 from the workshop, the impact this COVID has caused us to defer some maintenance into next year as we are working through this year. Overall, as such, net income in 2022 is now budgeted to reach $1,649,000, $127,000 higher than what you saw at the budget workshop. There are two items that I'd like to make you aware of. Manuel and Michael have been working with American Cruise Lines, as he said, to use the port for about a 7-month period in November. They will use the port's cruise berth on the alternate days when it is vacant. This venture is all but finalized and will increase the port's revenue about $600,000 with minimal increase in costs. This is not in the budget. The port has been awarded approximately $4 million from the American Rescue Plan. This will definitely increase the port's cash reserves. However, the procedures of when and how to collect and record the funds have not been fully provided yet. Bottom line, we are sure of the $4 million. How it will be reflected on our books is still being determined. As I mentioned earlier, the renewal replacement budget has not changed, and I will not be presenting anything on that. However, at the board meeting that followed last month's workshop, you approved the purchase of land on 10th Street from Viking Properties. The total cost you approved is $1,175,000. Of that amount, $175,000 was put into an escrow with our law firm to cover the port's request that the current owner for rough grading and development of the property. Once this work is completed, and they have 180 days to complete it, somewhere in fiscal 2022, the port will go to closing and disperse the additional $1 million. The capital plan for 2022 has been adjusted to reflect that $1 million increase. With that being said, are there any questions? Therefore, tonight I need to ask you to adopt the fiscal year 2022 operating budget, to adopt the fiscal year 2022 renewal and replacement budget, to adopt the 5-year 2022 capital budget, to authorize an increase in the business development expenses to 5.03% of the 2021 net operating revenue, and finally, to adopt a resolution approving the fiscal year 2022 budgets.
Make a motion to approve J1 on the things that were just listed.
Second. Okay, it's been moved by Commissioner Sept and seconded by Commissioner Waldron. Are there any questions? Seeing none, all in favor of tax rate and clerk will vote.
Chairperson Anderson?
Yes.
Vice Chairperson? Secretary Treasurer Enright?
Yes.
Commissioner Wayne Richards?
Yes.
Commissioner Catherine Walden?
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you.
New business, J2, Ford Tariff Update, Tariff number 24.
Good evening, Commissioners. Michael Leach is the Director of Business Development. I'm happy to bring you your last item of the night. Item J2 is an update to our current tariff. As you are aware, the tariff update is a critical component to the seaport operations to ensure sustainability of the facilities. As required by law, the port held 2 public meetings on July 27th and August 10th, 2021 for public feedback. The district has the authority to adopt the proposed tariff rate revision modifications pursuant to its charter. The purpose of this particular revision is to update the port's tariff to reflect an average increase of 1.5% rounded to the nearest penny across the board, as well as other language clarifications to include the addition of a new item called severe weather plan. We are requesting approval of item tariff 24 as written with an effective date of October 1st, 2021.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Commissioner Richards and second by Commissioner Waldron. That's first.
Commissioner Catherine Walden?
Yes.
Commissioner Wayne Richards?
Yes.
Secretary Treasurer Enright? Vice Chair Bud Ziegler? Chair Joseph Anderson?
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
Madam Clerk, do you have any questions?
Yes, two comments. First, on the rail. I'm very concerned about the rail. I know every now and then I'll give Mandy a call. I'll say I'm stuck over on 13th Street. And I do recall the work that Manny, the city, and I spent, we did many, many years ago. And they did come up with some changes that did alleviate probably 80 to 90% of the concerns. I remember one of the main takeaways was the repositioning of the containers, but also ensuring that 45th Street would never be blocked because of the hospital, and ensuring that Blue Heron would almost never be blocked. So 13th was almost just a fait accompli. We knew there would be blockages there, but something has happened. It is getting worse, and 45th Street really cannot be blocked because of our operation. And Blue Heron is almost as critical, so all of us do support whatever it takes to alleviate those concerns. That has to be a priority for the sport. 13th is a different story. We understand. It's right next to the operation. But 45th Street and Blue Heron are very critical. It will take effort, and maybe time and money, but we need to fix it. Number two, notice where all this. We have a port attorney who's very smart, who listens to the allegations. We have a port staff who listen to the allegations. We have a board member, myself, an attorney who was the chairman of that committee, audit committee, listen to the allegations. It is our job to say if there was a problem, to protect the port. You're in silence. You're in silence for a good reason. The port's protected. Things are not that incorrect. Loud allegations moving around doesn't mean that's fact. I'm sorry. That's why you're in silence from the professionals. Now, the concern about one of the three members who happens to be a layperson giving a 0, can't control that. If one of these members gives a 0 on one of the 10 items, can't control that, nor should we try to control that. Wow, I will say this. I ran into one of those laypersons at the draft house. He said, never again. He said, I wasn't treated right. This was a horrible experience. Guess what? It was a horrible experience. I'm going to look forward to another board member spending many hours. And I promise I'll treat them differently. I'll treat them better. That's all. Thank you for your time. That's my comment. Let's just do better. All of us.
Yeah, this is in my capacity as working with being a co-founder of Palm Beach County Cares. I just want to thank the Bahamas Paradise Cruise Line for letting our group use their warehouse so that we can collect supplies, medical supplies, and get them over to Haiti. So I just want to go on record saying thank you very much. They always stepped in, so thank you.
Commissioner, I just wanted to just one comment. Even though I give praises when we do right, and at the same time, it behooves me to speak out when there's areas of improvement. One of the things that you can go back and you can check last meeting and this meeting, I spoke to language which was a fact in our solicitation. Didn't deviate. I didn't talk about what the firm capacity was, what the research, what I heard about this particular firm. No. I spoke directly to our solicitation. Didn't deviate. And then I read it into the record verbatim. So I'm taking what is presented. Secondly, I read the statute verbatim from the record, which is a fact. So we can agree, disagree, but my position is I understand the nature of where we are. but I expect for us and our areas of improvement when we come to solicitations or RFQs. Mr. Director, I've spoken to you, I've even mentioned it in the meeting. This is something we need to visit. I don't know if that means bringing on someone or sending someone for continuing education when it comes to procurement or what have you. But this is not just our first anomaly that we've had with our procurements. And I am here to not only protect the integrity of the court, but I'm also making sure that we are doing, and we're, like you know, the gospel says, we're practicing what we preach. So if we're asking for individuals to respond to our solicitations, and they have to make sure they dot the I's and cross their T's, we should honor our solicitations and follow and not change the rules halfway in the game. And when it came to that particular company having a 0, our solicitation speaks to that. Verbatim, it speaks to that. Now, unfortunately, we didn't, in my opinion, we could have gave the board or the committee a little bit more insight in order for them to do their job effectively. But it clearly speaks in the solicitation, not Joseph Anderson, it clearly speaks in the solicitation about what is being non-responsive and who makes that determination. So I just want to state for the record, this is fact. And you can read the solicitation and read the minutes of the last meeting. Thank you for indulging me for that moment. Our next meeting date is Thursday, October the 21st. I know you may have had some.
Yeah, Commissioners, the next board meeting is on the 21st. However, we have 2 of our staff members that have already registered for a conference. And while we are asking is if we can consider having a week before, and it appears that Wednesday the 13th is the most popular. That is, most of the commissioners are able to do that on the 13th.
What's the matter with the 14th?
I believe Commissioner Richards is not here on the 14th.
I'm here on the 3rd Thursday, but I'm not here. Oh, yeah, I'm here on the regularly scheduled day. I made sure of that.
Okay.
Hold on.
Doesn't matter. I'm just asking. You're not here 13th?
Yeah, the 3rd Thursday is the 21st.
That is correct. And we're saying we can't, well, we have 2 staff members that will not have already registered. Therefore, we're looking for an alternate day. And we're thinking that perhaps the week of the 10th, or actually the week of the 11th, any of those days. My understanding is you were flying somewhere.
Yeah, I'm flying on the Thursday the 14th. So I'm available on the 13th.
Is there some reason why? I mean, do we expect to have a large agenda? I mean, usually we put it off a week. I mean, wouldn't that be?
That's also another option, but so it would be on the 28th. Is that a problem?
That would be an issue because we would be returning on the 22nd. We wouldn't have time to be able to gather all of the information, put the budget, the vote together.
13th is good. That's fine.
13th is good with you, Mr. Richards? Yes, 13th is good?
Oh, really?
So,
13th.
I'm good on the 13th.
Is the consensus is the 13th?
Yep, fine.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, have the 13th you set out the notifications and 7:30. All right. Is there a motion for adjournment?
Commissioners, we need some signatures for the budget resolution. Real quick, please. Thank you.
All 13th, please. 4 o'clock.
You need me for?
Do you need me?